Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're doing another how-to video. I'm on a different e-bike at the moment because, as a lot of you probably know, my brother's gone away for a few weeks and he's brought the e-bike that I usually ride because he's going with Tom Cardy. Obviously Tom's got to ride an e-bike as well. So I'm using the Enduro 9.0 today, which standard is what my dad uses to ride, so I apologise for the massive seat that's stuck miles high in the air. Today's how-to is going to be how to jump a gap. Someone commented on my last how-to video and it seemed like a cool idea to do because there is this nice gap behind me here at my local trails which we're going to be using to do the gap jump video on, and there's some other smaller gaps over in the background there. So yeah, we're basically just going to get straight into it, so roll the intro. So, what is a gap jump? Well, a gap jump is basically your normal tabletop with the middle cut out of the jump completely. So there's a big hole in between the takeoff and the landing for you to jump over and clear like a boss. So I'm going to try and do my best to explain how you jump these and how you get over the fear of clearing a gap. Right then, so there was an example of me jumping a gap jump pretty much normally, no stees involved. So how do you actually do this then? First of all, obviously you're going to want to know how to jump a tabletop already, or just some other sort of jump like a fly out. First step really is you're going to want to find a gap jump at your local trails or where you've built your own jump that is fairly smaller than the biggest tabletop you're comfortable with clearing, and that is because gap jumps are just naturally a lot scarier than tabletops, because with a tabletop, if I'm having a crap run or I've never done this line before, I know that I can kind of jump this, or I can land to the top deck and be fine and roll on. Whereas the thing that sucks about gaps sometimes is that you just have to clear it, and if you don't clear it, you die, and if you go too quick because you're too scared, you're also going to die, so you're going to over clear it. So yeah, find a small gap. I can't really stress that enough. By small I mean literally really tiny. It doesn't matter, you'll still, like, once you've jumped your first gap jump, you're going to feel like insane. Once you've done that, the principle is exactly the same as jumping a normal table, so you don't really need to learn much things new about the jump. The second step is like kind of dialing in your speed on each tabletop you jump. You're going to want to make sure that you can comfortably jump any tabletop and land it perfectly, and you don't need to stop and sort of check, you just do it and jump it and land it fine. This is where you can start doing bigger gap jumps because it is exactly the same as a tabletop. If you know how to jump a 3-foot table, you do know how to jump a 3-foot gap. It just is a lot scarier at first because it's that constant nagging in your head that if you don't clear it, you're gonna land in the middle and die is always there. It's still there for me when I jump gaps. Even this one, like when you do take off, I've done it so many times, but you always are constantly thinking like, oh, did I go quick enough? Or if you put one less crank in or something, it can sort of put you off a bit. But I mean, I always know when I'm going to clear that jump and when I'm not. One thing you can do is like walk the track before you ride it and note, well, not literally note down, but make a mental note about where each gap is on the trail and how big it is. You can kind of look at it and visualize it and compare it to a tabletop that you've jumped before, and from that you can work out kind of by yourself how quick you need to go. But it is always better to slightly over clear the jump than be not too sure about it. So if you kind of know how quick you have to go, what I do is I do kind of over clear the jump a little bit. I'm not going to recommend that to you guys, because if you don't know how to over clear a jump and be fine, then you shouldn't try and do this, because like, I'm not saying I'm a pro at biking and I know how to over clear everything and be fine, but I know within limits how far I can jump past the landing and still roll away, or at least just be fine, you know. So yeah, Another thing you can do is follow an experienced rider down, because they obviously know the speed to each gap, so you can have trust in them. I sometimes do this with my brother if I don't know how to jump a certain jump. No, not today, thanks. Take that pilot's license away. That's kind of it for gap jumps really. We're going to move on to drops in a second. So basically, just to sum it up, the only way to get better at gaps is to literally keep doing gaps and build up your confidence. Good technique is like at the jump that you might have seen that me and Brendon built in the Isle of Woods. We've got a wooden kicker, so like when we got comfortable with just jumping the jump with the kicker slammed, that's when we pulled it way back, because we know we can clear a further gap. So that can be a good idea. Maybe if you're allowed to do that at your local trails, you know, replace the kicker with a wooden one. I don't really know of many places that do that. Or if you have your own spot, try and make all the takeoffs out of wood, and you can make the gap as massive as you can, and then that will give you more confidence when you go to proper bike parks, and a lot of the jumps are gaps. Right, we're going to move on to drops now. There's one literally over there, so we're going to move the camera over, and yeah, so let's do it.